All right, welcome to another episode of the I Tried to Be Straight podcast with Nate and
Susie and
Michelle
and Henry. We have a doggy guest. This is the dog that you might have heard in the last episode being kind of, a little bit impatient. He misses his dad. His dad isn't here, so we are comforting him. We're his comfort humans to
he looks
take
like
the place.
Yoda. If you're listening, not watching, just imagine Yoda.
And actually, his owner would probably want us to give him a shout out. He's got an Instagram page. What's the Instagram page?
@HelloHenry.
@HelloHenry. So this is a famous dog. So you're welcome. Enjoy. We have a really great guest here today, Michelle. She's introduced herself, but let me introduce her again. We went to Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry together.
Yes, we did.
And we have a lot of good stories. And we got the spooky thing a lot because, supernatural was something that's hard to say. Not the best thing to put on a resume, honestly. I kind of take the supernatural off of it in the resume.
Actually, don't even put it on the resume.
I know. That's like, what were you doing for those 3 years? I don't know. I can't remember.
I went to Hogwarts.
I don't know.
No comment.
I went somewhere.
Pass.
But we were both very closeted at that point.
Yes.
But buddies. Yeah. And we didn't even know we were secretly someday both going to come out.
Yeah.
And now we get to be here on a podcast together. So welcome.
Thank
you. Thank you for coming and sharing your story with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here. So excited.
We are too. Susie, are you excited?
I'm stoked. I thought you were going to ask a question and I was like waiting for I'll kick it off.
You kick it off. What are you going to kick off?
Well, I just want to know, what does your upbringing look like?
Yeah.
How entrenched in the church were you? What was that like growing up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Houston, so kind of the South, depends where you live, what you consider to be the South. I grew up homeschooled.
Woo woo.
Very religious. So my family was evangelical Christian. So it kind of with a tinge of Baptist. So it was evangelical, very almost like Bethel vibes, but with more flags, more big flags. You know?
I remember the flags. We used to wave the flags.
Oh yeah. They were heavy. They were big.
Wait, do you know how to do a flag dance?
No, I wish I did though.
That was advanced. We
were
probably
that was
both
advanced
intermediates.
flaggers. I was never on the flagging team, but it's never too late.
There's a flagging team at Bethel. Actually, they're beautiful. It's actually really beautiful.
They are really beautiful. That's a great note. Yeah, so grew up very Christian. We were in church 2 to 3 times a week. Very strict, very purity culture. Went to True Love Waits class where we learned, red kiss, stating goodbye. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very strict, very gay was a very bad word. Mm-hmm. I remember trying to watch Modern Family growing up, and my mom would be turn that off. What is that? Gross. They were very extreme.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was very strict, very Southern, very church was our world.
That's kind of how it started. And then what's kind of the next part of your story?
I think it's really interesting hearing people's stories because I feel some people growing up, listening to your story, Nate, you were I knew from when I was 6, I had really no idea growing up. But looking back now, I think I see the patterns. I remember thinking if I were a boy, that's the girl I would date.
Dang.
I know. Yeah. And I remember looking at a girl and being oh, she's so pretty, but just thinking I don't know if I want to be her, or I don't know if I just know that if I were a boy, her, she's just so pretty and warm and smells good, and then but instantly I'd be but I'm not, so oh well.
Dang
moving
it.
on.
Oh man.
And I just
darn.
No, but I'm not. Moving on.
Oh shoot.
And it wasn't a thing I wanted to be a boy, but it was just I just know if I were, that's who I would choose. Anyway, growing up in the church, I think, especially where I was, it was gay isn't really even real. It's a sin. It's a issue. It's a
disorder.
Or if you're wounded, it's a aggravated wound.
Yes.
That's kind of how it was seen. So it was not even real. But I do remember being young and being I don't get what the big deal is. Who cares if people are gay, even as a kid. So anyway, went through high school, never had things with girls or anything like that. I dated boys, And I never really like loved it, but I did love attention, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm
Who
like,
doesn't?
I know. And I like love to kiss and like, but it just was never like great. But I think what was really confusing to me is a lot of women I found, I don't know if you've had this experience, Susie, but a lot of people that I've encountered have been like, that's just how it is, like with men. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
Like no one likes it.
No one enjoys.
to it.
No one enjoys men.
No one enjoys them.
Except
Well, I can tell you, some people enjoy men, but
Right.
in a healthy way.
But that was so confusing to me, I think, because they're like, yeah, it's supposed to be gross. Like, it's no one like really loves it. And I was like, and even when I got into my 20s, people would be like, it takes like a while. Like, yeah, they suck at first, and then give them 5 years, and then, you know, you've created the person you want. And I was like, ugh,
Wow.
sick. Like, that sounds like the worst.
Like, why do people even do this?
Yeah. So anyway,
What's
it just
the point?
was all very confusing, but I never was like loving being with a boy, but I just thought that's how it was. That's like how life was. So anyway, did high school. When I turned 18, moved to Reading to go to Bethel. And I think I just wanted like out of the South and thought that I wanted to be like in youth ministry, like thought that I wanted to be a leader in a church. But I think it's because I didn't know like what options were available to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Now being in my 30s and being so reflective, I'm like, I just think I didn't know what the options were. I wish someone came to you and was like, here's the options of what you could be in life, you know, which maybe is what happens in like a regular high school. I don't really know.
Yeah, like maybe go to college.
Yeah.
Like, what would college be like? You know, where you get like a degree in a useful thing.
And, like,
What's
what-
that?
What's that?
Yeah. And like, who
Same.
knows? But you know what? It's okay. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we made great friends.
We made great friends.
It's about the friends you make along the way.
Yeah. So I went to Bethel. I did 3 years. It was really crazy. It was way more extreme than the church that I went to. So
Wow.
Yeah, the supernatural part.
yeah, the supernatural part.
Spicy.
And we had that, but it was still more extreme. And also coming from being homeschooled to all of these new people,
Yeah.
it just was a lot for me.
Yeah.
I did not date at all
In Bethel. Okay.
but I wanted to because the narrative there a lot, especially for women, I don't know what it was like for men, but it was like, you know, we're getting married by 23.
Yeah. No, they say it constantly.
Yes.
It's like a joke, but it's serious.
It's a joke, but I was like, cool. So by December of the first year, I will be bringing home a man that I will be
Wow.
marrying.
And some of our classmates did.
And some of them did.
There were like
Are they
people
divorced
got married
now?
in first year.
Maybe.
Are they all divorced?
Just kidding.
Yes.
Maybe.
One couple got divorced like 6 months later.
Yeah.
Like there's so many stories like that at Bethel. It's kind of
Oh my
hilarious.
gosh.
It's wild. So, and in retrospect, I'm really thankful. But at the
Yes.
time, I was like, no one likes me. Like, I don't know.
Aw.
Like, it was a really weird time for me. And like, I was really figuring out myself outside of my family. And I didn't have a ton of friends in the first couple years. And yeah, it just was really interesting. And then I found myself gravitating towards gay men for sure, like closeted gay men.
You.
Stop
That's how you
it.
guys
Oh my
became
gosh.
friends.
And I thought we were just and then we fell in love. No.
And then Nate and I fell in love.
Which is really confusing.
Where'd you guys get divorced?
This is the secret wife that I've been leading up to this. It's here now. No, and I thought our friendship was just because I was fun. I didn't realize you sensed my closeted gayness.
Well, I didn't know that either.
Well, maybe I was like into your closeted gayness.
Right.
We
I
found
think
each other.
We probably sensed it in each other.
Because I always thought you were like so cool.
Well, yeah, same.
Aww.
Aw, cute.
Anyways, we're just like gonna reminisce for like 10 minutes.
tenderness.
Sorry, this is for us. We're having a moment.
This is a moment. But I was gravitating towards mostly gay men and more effeminate men. And so in my mind, I was like, I like these guys. I want to date them. And so,
Oh no.
and so I
Famous
did
last
go,
words.
I did go on some dates with some guys, and like I think those were the ones I feel like I connected with the most, because I was like, they're so fun and like not judgmental and like lovely. And I was like much heavier at that time. And so I think the dating culture in the Christian world can be very superficial. because it's a lot of these boys being like, I want this picture perfect wife
Absolutely.
to be there on the Sunday morning with me, you know.
Pastor's wife.
Pastor's wife.
Pastor's wife material.
Exactly. And I just wasn't that picture perfect thing. So I experienced a lot of rejection, but it was mixed with, but I actually like don't really even want them. So it was like really a interesting, confusing thing for me. And so I did go on some dates with a couple like gay guys, and or closeted, sorry. And then when we would get to the point of being physical, I was like, please, just like I don't want to touch. Like, I don't want to touch. And
yep.
Yeah, it was really confusing. And then I had a pastor who brought me into his office one day, just him and I, and he sat me down, and I had kind of been talking to him about this boy I liked who was closeted. And he was like, how does he make you feel? Like, really was like digging into. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, how does he make, which looking back, I'm like, inappropriate.
Yeah.
But he was like, how does he make your body feel?
Ew, a guy.
That is not real.
Also, if I'm spilling too much, you can cut me off.
No, don't spill. If you're okay, I'm okay.
So inappropriate.
And
Yeah.
I remember being like, what the hell? Like, I don't know. I was like nice. Like, I didn't know what to say.
Well, the whole time the church is saying that doesn't even matter.
Right.
Like half the time it's like it's all about the romantic or the like
Right.
emotional connection.
Right.
So it's like the first time you ever probably heard that in the church.
I had never
What
been
did you
asked that.
say?
I just remember being like, I don't know. And he was
Yeah.
like, I think you know. And I was
what?
like, I literally was like, sorry, my mom's calling. I gotta go. It's like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
And then
What was the implication? What was he implying?
I think
that
he
the
was-
guy was gay or that you
no,
were-
I think actually I have no idea.
Just
but I
weird.
wonder if he was trying to help me process like what was going on. But then he told me, he was like, I think you have a beautiful body. And I was like, what in the literal
What the
hell?
heck?
He's like, but if you lost weight.
I'm done.
Oh,
I have to go away.
Michelle.
No,
Oh,
I'm
and
alone
I
with
probably
this adult man.
know this person because I know
Oh, you
a lot of those
100%.
Oh,
I'll tell you
no.
after who it is.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
If you lose weight, then it would be really beautiful. And then I think he's like, it'll depend how you receive this, what happens next in your life. And he was like, I think it would be really easy for you to date after that. And that's kind of the reason why you're not dating. And so that
Oh my God.
was even more of a mind F for me.
Absolutely.
Because then I was like, I'm the problem, not these boys. And so I think that threw even another confusion in the process. Because I was like, well, maybe this is the key. And this is why I'm not feeling the connection with these boys. Is this. And so I was like, well, that's the key. Did it do anything? No. It like literally I was like, okay, do you not think I don't think about this every day of my life? You know,
Oh my
like
gosh,
Yeah.
when you have an insecurity and
Yeah.
someone's like, you're right. That
Yeah.
is the problem.
That's unbelievable.
And what's so funny there is for me, like, I didn't really care how I looked when I was in the closet because, like,
Right.
I actually didn't care about attracting girls. So I'm like, if a
Right.
girl likes me or not, it's easier if the girls, like, don't like me. Because I
Yes.
was, like, super skinny and I didn't really care that girls didn't like it because I'm like, great, I have less girls, like, being weird around me.
Yeah, totally.
It's funny how that works, though. And then he made you think that somehow
Yeah.
that was the reason you didn't like guys that much
Yes.
was because you couldn't get them. Like, that's crazy.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I would love, and I
you.
probably, it sounds like I do know this person. I would love to punch them in the face.
No, yeah.
In the Lord. In the
In-
Lord. In the Lord. Sorry,
Yeah.
continue. It makes me so mad, though.
It was crazy. And I'm also like, what other women had this experience?
Yeah.
I'm really curious. And at this point in my life, I'm like, that's so untrue because every body is very beautiful in every shape and form. And every version of yourself, I'm like, I feel like because I mentioned that, I have to mention, is someone's best case scenario. No
Yeah.
matter what size you are, it's someone's best case, like dream of a person.
I've always thought you were beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Nate.
Honestly,
That's so
seriously,
sweet.
and like
Thank
the
you very
light,
much.
you had this like light around you. You're just like such a
Aw,
like a
thank you.
like such a joy to be around.
That's so
always,
sweet.
even when you were
Thanks.
young and you were like still like figure yourself out. Yeah, you were just like natural beauty. Like
Aww,
you really radiated it.
Sweet.
I've always thought
Thanks,
that.
mate.
Yeah.
I'm like
Very
so
kind.
mad, and I'm like thinking about all the implications that probably had on your life.
Yeah.
That things that you probably wrestled with that nobody will ever know because of that conversation. And it just makes me so mad. And I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Thanks.
And also one thing,
crazy.
like at Bethel, so they put pastors in the position where they're like leading people, they're counseling people, and none of them have counseling degrees. A lot of them are 23 or 24, and they're put in pastoral positions where they're having hours of one-on-one counseling with the same sex or the opposite sex, with no supervision, no one in those conversations. And there's like 50 of those pastors with no oversight that just sometimes are just third-year students that become pastors. So I have heard other wild stories of just really interesting advice in that system. I mean, that's a whole other tangent, but it's not surprising, but it is devastating.
It is devastating. And then sometimes I find compassion. It's very rare.
Yeah.
But I'll be like, you were put in a crazy position to be leading these people when you have zero qualifications.
Yeah.
Maybe he did. I don't know about him, but
I don't know about that.
Are the qualifications in the room with us?
Where are they?
Anywho, so that threw like another wrench of like, okay, well, this is my fault. Like, and I really was very earnest. Like I was like trying to hear this with like understanding ears, but it didn't help anything in the journey of figuring out my sexuality. So I keep going through life. I graduate BSSM. I end up moving away back to Texas for a hot minute, moving back to Redding. Not much happens during that time. I'm still not really like dating or like even have the thought of sexuality. I think around this time I start like questioning a touch, very like logistic things like, why am I only watching the girl in that scene of the movie? Or like,
interesting.
Yeah. Like, why do I feel like something like, why do I feel like turned on or something like that? And I'm like, it's nothing. Like, and I kind of slowly started getting into this thing of like, you know, more like feminism and more like women are so beautiful and strong. And like, and I was like, yeah, maybe that's it. Like, I feel very like empowering to women. And that was kind of like where I started. I think just recognizing more a tiny bit, but I was so repressed that I never really had a moment like in myself. There was one moment where I was still in BSSM and I was working for a restaurant, Logan's Roadhouse and Hilltop Drive.
Yep.
And
some of the best restaurants in Redding.
Oh my God. But I had this one coworker who was like very flirty and she's just so not my type. Like she's like, but very cute, but she was very like touchy and like would just be like very like flirty with me. And I remember my heart would like beat so hard. And I was like,
gay panic.
I was like, why am I sweating? And I remember that was one moment where I was like, that was weird. Anyway. Like,
oh well, just gonna log with this.
Chasing that high for the rest of my life.
I'm like, that was crazy, right?
Weird.
Right, guys? Right?
Like, we all felt that, right? We all felt that.
Me.
You all feel that when she does that to you.
Yeah.
You all feel that.
So that was like moments. Like, you know those girls that are like,
oh, totally.
Like, just very like, dee, 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 dee.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you're like, holy shit. Sorry, I shouldn't swear on this.
No, we say
swear?
shit.
Okay.
We say shit. And I just said it. That's
And
it.
that will
That's
be
it.
bleeped out. I'm just kidding.
If you're only listening, you should definitely be watching this episode because it's a hoot.
Okay. So anyway, from there, I worked for Bethel Music for 5 years.
Oh my God.
Bless.
And and I did have friends who
Super healthy environment.
super healthy.
Everyone's happy.
Actually, I still have friends there that I really do love and adore.
Yeah. No, sorry. There's a lot of amazing people at Bethel.
But there is a lot of dysfunction.
There's
too,
just
right?
a lot. There's a little bit of a drama in the Bethel music department, from what I've heard. But there's so many amazing people involved, and I don't want to say one without saying that.
Totally. But I did have like a couple friends who like came out during their time there, and it was really, really difficult for them. And so I think that was one thing where I was like, man, that sucks. Like, because still, even at that time, I was like, I don't think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't think it's wrong. Through all of my time, I mean, I was definitely went through my judgmental periods while I was in BSSM, and I feel like I should go find every person and apologize to them probably. But, so if you're watching, I'm sorry. So that was just like another thing in my mind where I was like, okay, noted. Like, never say that girl at Logan's made you feel like that. Like, keep that inside. So I got let go from Bethel Music in 2020 because of COVID.
Dang.
And I worked on the events team. So it was like, there's no events girlfriend. So got let go. And that went straight into COVID. I was living alone. And it was my first time living alone. So that was very much a like, okay, introduction to myself time, which was, honestly, I'm so grateful for it. It was like the first time I was like quiet with myself probably ever in my life. And it was beautiful. I didn't figure out I was gay, but it was great. I figured out some other stuff, you know. Fast forward, work for this other company, and I start meeting some queer friends. And it's just like small, like I meet this like really wonderful boy who I'm like, he's so fun and cute and fresh, and I just love him. And he introduces me to another queer friend, and we start like hanging out, and they're like just so fun and like warm. And I was like, I feel like I can just be so myself here, and not like try and be anything else. Like I always kind of felt out of place, like growing up, and even, well, especially at Bethel, like I was like, I'm not like the others, but I didn't know why. You know, so I started hanging out with like these queer friends, and I just felt like I could like be anything. They knew that I was straight, and they didn't like try to make me not straight.
Right.
But I was like, I could tell them anything and they would not be shocked. Yeah. Like I could tell them like, I just stole a car, and they'd be like, okay, like not good, but like tell me.
Like, tell me the details. But like what kind of car was it?
What color? You know?
I get it. I totally get it.
But like you probably needed it, you know?
It's a good reason.
So it just was like, I felt like so, I don't know, just like connected with them and like safe with them. Basically, I think just like natural conversations happen. And I remember one of them asking like, cause this girl like commented something on one of my Instagram posts, because I was also on this whole journey simultaneously, like wellness journey of like figuring out my body, figuring out my hormones, figuring out like fitness, what that looked like in my life, which was like a huge part of my life. And do you want to come up here? Come here.
Podcast dog has re-entered the building.
Oh, come on my lap here. Sorry. Okay. Very cute. What do you want to say?
Where's my dad?
Like,
where's my dad? I'm all alone. You
might cut that.
We'll see. Well, the dog will just appear though. We're not cutting it. We're keeping it. It's all good.
We're not cutting anything.
Nothing is cut today.
I had like posted this kind of like spicy picture, like risque.
Yeah. Like a workout pic?
No, it was like in a bra or like in a top that like showed like under boob or like laying on my bed or like something sassy that I'd never posted before. So for me it was, and it was like on Valentine's Day, and I was like, I love me, like very dramatic, like Valentine's Day to me. And this girl commented something on it, just like, you're so hot. And she was like an out lesbian and mutual friend. And I just was like, oh my God, like that was so like sweet of her or something.
Dang.
And my friend was like, well, would you ever like date a girl? And I was like, no, that's a crazy thing to say. Like I would. Why would you ask me that?
You're just nuts. Like, you're silly.
Get out of here. But I think that kind of like planted it in my head. And I know people say like you should never ask people these kinds of things, but I almost think sometimes you should in the right vein, in the right scenario. Yeah. Because I think I just needed like a really safe person to be like, have you ever thought about this? And even though I was like, no, never, I think it did like plant something. Yeah. So I kind of started like thinking, and then I went to a party and I met like another like lesbian who was a bit more like leaning towards maybe like soft mask, just something that I had never been exposed to, maybe the type of women that I was attracted to as much. And she just was like so just like different than anyone I had ever met, like just more like forward and confident and like confident in her sexuality. I mean, we didn't even talk about that, but just confident in who she was and like really complimentary of like me physically. And I was like, I remember my heart was like beating so hard again. I had like bent over to get something out of the cupboard, and she like said, like complimented me. And I remember I like stayed there and I was like, oh my God. So anyway, that night I go home and I didn't sleep the entire night, like one single moment. And it's not like anything even happened between us. I think it was more the, like what she represented to me. And just like, oh, there's like other people that exist that like she's living this whole life that I thought was so off limits for me. And so I remember the whole night, I just literally didn't sleep for a single second. And I just was like, finally letting myself recognize, like, could I be queer? Like finally asking myself that question without like immediately shutting it down.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just went through like every scenario in my head. I was like, what would it mean to tell my family? What would it mean to tell my parents? What would it mean to tell my community, like who are primarily evangelical Christians in Redding, California, where this is like very not allowed. And if it is, it's like very taboo. Like, so I went through every scenario. I'm like, could I like kiss a girl? I mean, I had kissed girls at like New Year's and stuff. Who hadn't? Just kidding.
Wait, so you have or you haven't?
No, I did. Like all the time.
I've also kissed girls at New Year's.
Yeah, I feel like New Year's doesn't count. Who knows?
I haven't done that. Okay, anyways.
You've never kissed a girl at New Year's?
No.
Oh my God, this is your New Year's.
This New Year's, this is your time.
Really?
Yeah, you're going to kiss a girl at New Year's. I'm a guy. No. I'm a man.
I'm kidding.
Wow. Coming at me so many times, and it's really hard for me. Sorry.
To what?
When you just keep coming at me.
Oh, yeah.
And calling me a woman.
Fully hitting on you right now.
No, you called me a woman. You said you'd kiss me. I'm a woman. You'd kiss me.
What? You're making no sense right now.
Roll the tape back. Roll it back.
We'll roll this back, and we'll see where you said I'll kiss you at New Year's because you're a woman, and where I got offended, and you can look at the pain in my eyes, and we'll roll that all back. You're going to kiss a girl at New Year's. I'm a guy. No. I'm a man. This is about her. Stop interrupting. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Should I leave?
Vicious in here. It's vicious.
Tensions are high.
Tensions are high. Time to pause.
Anyways, back to the story.
Back to the show.
We do a laugh. So yeah, I was just like laying there asking myself, like, could I kiss a girl? What would it be like to be with a girl? Like really just like letting myself ask myself all these questions. And maybe like 3 months prior to that, I had actually, I was living alone, which was so good for me. I'm so grateful I did that.
Yeah.
But I had like come to this place before I went on any sort of queer journey where I was like, I need to recognize that I will be alone forever.
Holy shit. Why did you go there?
I don't know.
I mean, I think I kind of got there too, honestly.
I mean, I think it's because I was really disliking all the men that I had been trying to date, and I was on straight Hinge.
Oh, nothing worse than straight Hinge.
Were terrifying. Yeah. And I was like, who the hell are these people? And like, you know, having these quick little like relationship, like chatting moments, and then being like, if I meet him, he's gonna murder me. And like, and so
straight Hinge in Redding.
Yes. Beware. Do not go to somewhere else. Go to Sacramento.
Anywhere else.
Chico.
Even if you're straight, you're not going to find anything on straight Hinge in Redding.
Oh, I almost feel like it's worse.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I'd kind of like come to this place where I was like, I would rather be happy and alone than unhappy.
Preach.
With a man, I think.
Yeah.
And it didn't have anything to do with sexuality. It just was like, they just all suck so hard. At least straight ones, in my opinion, did at the time. And I was like, that I would just rather be alone. So I had already had that in my head. Fast forward to me in my studio apartment, then being like, holy cow, what if I was a lesbian? And I just was like, oh my God. And so just like inner turmoil, like I wasn't letting anybody in on this. And it was probably like a month of me just like holding it in every time I hung out with my queer friends. I was on a walk with one of my gay friends, And I was like, I was so nervous. And I was like, my heart's like beating out of my chest. And that was the first time I had told anyone anything about thinking that I was queer. And I remember I told him, I think I have a crush on this person who was a girl. And it was like the exact reaction that I needed, because I think if someone would have been like, what? Like, I would have like shriveled, you know? Yeah. And he just was like, oh my God, cute. And I was like, I know. And he was like, you're going to be gay married before me. And I was like, I hope so. And that was it. That was the whole conversation. Yeah. And I just remember being like, that is what I needed. Like, it was just so like soft and like sweet. And we ended up having more conversations, obviously. But that is like just the way that I needed someone to react. And I'm so grateful that I had that, because I know a lot of people have really hard first moments. So I'm very grateful for him. I love him very much. So from there, I kind of like started telling my close friends that I was bi, which again, being bi is so valid. Yep. But I was not, I don't think, but it was a helpful like jumping off point. And I kind of started getting this like high of like, I don't know if y'all felt this, but when I really started telling people that I was like queer, I just felt so myself. And I was so excited. And I think I like went a little too hard at first. Like
you're telling the grocer and like the post office guy, I'm gay.
Yeah. And I just was like, okay, girl, you need to slow down. Because the way I found that out was I started telling friends who started having like negative reactions. Not negative, but not like, oh, yay. Like more just like, oh, like crazy. Like, this is a lot for me to take in. And I'm like, it's a lot for me to take in. Like, why is it a lot for you to take in?
No, they always make it about them. It's crazy, right? Anyways.
Yeah. And so I told like my really close friends, I told my brothers who are like the best, my sister-in-law who's the best. And I'm endlessly grateful for them, because that meant a lot to me, that they're so just like, they were shocked, which I was like, that's fair. I dated a lot of boys in high school, but really, really supportive. I told my close friends who were really, really supportive. I started reaching like the outer circles, and that's when it started getting really interesting. And I had like a few people ask me, like, because of things I was posting on Instagram, which is really fair. If I'm posting Muna 24/7, there's something going on. You know what I mean? Like, Muna Boy Genius, like the girl is queer. Like
they're so good too.
They're so good. They're so good. But it's a clear sign.
It's
clear. The signs are there. So it started getting more difficult. And then that's when I kind of came to the realization that I didn't have to come out to everybody. And I actually had a few queer friends who were like newer, more like a reconnection, like a couple friends we started getting closer again once I like started coming out, and they were like so like detrimental to my journey or story, like just really helped me like as queer women like navigate things. And I was so grateful for that. And I just remember one of them telling me like, just so you know, like, you don't have to tell anyone anything. And I was like, why wouldn't I? It's so fun. Like at the time.
Until it's really not.
So then when I started having those experiences, I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell everyone I've ever met. I'm going to keep it on the inside. And then this last Christmas, I told my mom.
How's that?
And that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was like really, really difficult. She did call me like a couple weeks later and was like, I will try to listen to the like theologians that you mentioned. And I was like, okay. And so she's trying. I would still love to like have a relationship with her and figure out what that looks like. But that's been like a very difficult part of like coming out. And that is the family dynamic. So we're recovering from that and figuring that out. And I do feel genuinely like in 3 to 5 years, she will come to terms with it and at least make peace with it, you know, because I know that she doesn't want to lose me. Like I'm her only daughter and I'm like so fun. So
you're amazing.
That'd be really a bummer.
No, she loves you.
Yeah, she does.
We had a guest, Stacy, on. Did you get a chance to listen to that?
Was that the mom?
Yeah.
I've seen clips, but I haven't got to watch the whole thing.
It's a great episode. Yeah. And one thing that she says in that episode that I'm like, yeah, that's so good, is just like, give your parents time. Like they need time to like grieve the hopes and futures that they've built up for you. And I think that's like so valid. And you've had time to like percolate on this for a while, and she just like hasn't. And if she's still in the South, that's even harder to like even wrap your mind around.
Yeah. They're literally told to be ready for anything you might say and come back at it with all these things. Like, it's almost like they've been preparing for this and still have all those people in their ears that will tell them everything you're saying is invalid for A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And the mental gymnastics they have to go through to change their opinions are insane. And it's so like stacked against us, and it's tragically painful for us. And there's just no easy in this. And I'm so sorry. I can relate in a lot of ways, even to the point of like someone else outing me to them. Like,
oh, really?
Like there's just a lot of levels there. And so I'm so sorry.
Thanks. Me too.
And I think she loves you, and I think she'll come around, and I really hope she will.
Yeah, I agree. I know she loves me so much, and she has like reiterated that so many times since, which I really appreciate. And I think that is so true. Like, I was trying to think about that. Like, I've been thinking about this for ages. This is her first time. So I am trying to give her that space. And I think it's that hard balance of like, what do I do to make myself feel supported while also give her the space to, you know, go on that journey herself. And I have, you know, hopes that she'll get there, and one day she'll get to meet whoever I'm dating. And I always think too, like, how could you not love like just this incredible lesbian that I would be dating, whoever they might be?
She's gonna be amazing.
I know. And I'm just like, how could you not like them? Like, so I just feel like it'll be okay. But it comes with hard parts, you know.
My sister pointed out like a really good thing, because my mom was visiting us a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, oh, when Susie finds a boy. And then my sister Brenda was like, well, what if she finds a woman? What are you going to do then? And so just kind of like pushing the boundaries there with her. And Brenda had this realization when my mom told her that. She was like, I'm just scared. Like, what if she gets like an STD or something?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But my mom was like, grew up being friends with a lot of gay men, and she watched a lot of them die because of AIDS.
Oh yeah, that really.
And Brenda was like, she started piecing it together, and she was like, Mom, first of all, Susie's not sleeping around, but second of all, like, you're living with this fear that she might get something that, like, it's mostly the straight community now that's spreading AIDS.
Yeah,
so
because and it's treatable now. Like, no one's dying from it like they used to, and there's PrEP, and there's all these things involved that.
But even in that, like, Brenda realized, like, oh, our parents are of a generation that grew up with AIDS being like the thing that is killing the gay community.
Absolutely.
And so they like live with this fear of their children dying, which I just thought was a really compassionate take on that, because I'd never even thought about that.
Yeah, that's so true. Especially that generation. That was like when the epidemic was arising. It's a great point.
It's layered. It's a
very
layered thing.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to this thing.
Yeah, there is.
Doesn't excuse it.
Totally.
But it explains it.
Yeah. But it's good, I think, to look for empathy and compassion points sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess playing devil's advocate, because also, like, I say that from one thing to, like, say, you know, there's hope, but also another, like, that experience should never happen to anyone, and it's not it's not valid. I'm not saying it's valid. I'm saying it was like a horrible thing for a kid to have to go through, and I'm so sorry. But also, like, we're just in a really impossible situation. And I feel empathy for your mom, as well as like like, you love your daughter so much. Like, how could you not see how this is making her feel? Anyways.
And I think too, like, as time goes on, where I have more language and like emotional capacity to like explain the good parts. Like, I think in that moment I was so like, one, scared, but two, like, just like taking the blows. But I'm like, later on, once I've recouped, which I do feel like I have to a good point, but I'll be able to articulate better, like, why, like how happy I feel, like the beautiful parts, and have better language for that. So maybe that will help too. Who knows?
Yeah, I think
But,
so.
yeah.
I mean, like, you're still so early on the journey.
Yeah,
right? Like,
I'm still baby.
it's so exciting being this early in the journey, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like the whole world's ahead of you right now in a
Yeah.
way that it never has before?
Yeah.
Like, we can actually date and be
Yeah.
excited about dating?
Yes.
Like, what is that? This is crazy.
I know, it's so crazy.
And find like a person to be with forever. Like, that was never on the menu before. Not really, because I was like, being with a girl sounds awful. Like, all of the like, yeah, just like, God, like, because you go through problems in marriage, right? And like, I'm like, well, like, yeah, your wife does sound like a problem, and like, and then I'm like, and there's
leave
no
her.
perks either, because like, what is the point? Which obviously, women are amazing. Like, I love women. I love women. They're my favorite.
Totally. They're so cool.
I love them, but imagining being married to them and them expecting things of me, no.
No way.
That's what she wants.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, expect everything from me, please.
We traded dreams.
Literally.
Yeah, there you go.
When you were like trying to be straight, could you ever picture yourself like when people talk about like, oh my gosh, my wedding day? Did you ever picture yourself with a woman, even like in the early days?
It was a struggle.
Yeah.
I couldn't really. I was just like, I was always like trying to force myself to picture myself with a woman, and it was just like sick to my stomach almost. It made me sick because I was just like, no, I'd have to do that someday, and I'd probably still be like feeling like conflicted on my way down the altar.
Yeah.
I knew that could easily be the case, that I would be like a lot of our friends that are gay that have got married.
Because obviously I feel like maybe it's more prominent in women too, to like be, premeditating their wedding days and like dreaming about them and the dress and the da-da-da-da-da. And I just remember like, I was like, I don't know why I can't see it.
Me too.
Really?
I literally, till this day, did not picture a wedding. I still can't. Like, I'm still like, Like, yeah, I want it, but like, I don't have like a Pinterest board.
Right.
Like all the other girls do.
Right.
Girl.
I was trying to picture it with a dude.
Wait, what did you say?
I'm trying to picture a wedding like with a dude. Now I finally can. For me, like I've seen like little clips. I'm just like, oh, I get it now.
That's so sweet.
It'd be like so sweet, like just that moment, and you're both crying. And,
oh my God.
yeah, there's a really cute one that like was on TikTok this last week, and I'm just like, we were waiting for them to walk.
Crying?
Yeah,
I saw
and you're
that.
like, you're waiting. You're like, I think this guy's gay. Who's walking down the aisle? Who's walking down the aisle? And it's a guy. And I'm like,
Oh, it's so
Yes.
He's crying.
I do love when
Butterflies.
queer people do like a huge dramatic wedding.
I know.
I don't
We
think
need
that
them
I
most.
actually want one.
Yeah.
But I love when people do them.
it's okay. No, the
You
girls
have it.
can do the chill one. The guys, we will make it dramatic.
Please
because
do.
we can't help ourselves.
And I want to come to it.
You will be there.
Yay.
100%. It's gonna be
Yay.
a great wedding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I plan on getting married, and it's gonna be great.
I love that.
I was gonna put a time limit on it. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna put a time limit on it. Within the next 2 years, we need to do a bachelor
Manifest.
situation.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, like do like dating profile or
Oh,
like
wait, let's
do like
do
a
it.
bachelor thing.
Let's do it for Michelle right now. What's your type? Everybody
my
can
type?
slide into her
Yeah,
DMs.
what's Michelle's type?
Oh, I would say I'm honestly very open. I
Love
really
that.
thrive off personality. So I think like funny, fun, caring. I do lean more towards like a soft mask, tomboy,
Nice.
that genre for sure. But yeah, I'm open.
There you
If
go.
you or your friends fit this
Yeah.
description.
Message us and we'll filter them.
Wow.
And then
Yeah, I like that.
come at
Let's
us and
filter
we'll
them.
filter them and then send them along. Preferably Californian.
Our people will
but
talk to your people.
If they're willing to fly to Reading, then we can talk. But talk to me. We'll figure it out.
Talk to us.
Yeah. Well, if you,
Nate doesn't have a concept for soft mask.
no, that's true.
Yes.
Okay, Susie's got this. It's Susie. I just
Susie knows.
I just like to be a part of things.
Oh, I totally get that.
I have so much FOMO of everything all the time. I have a problem. Well, was there any other part of your story that you wanted to share? Do you feel like we covered it?
I feel like I covered it.
You did so good.
Wow,
I just
thank
like
you so much.
I just love like seeing old friends, and then
I
when they
know,
turn out to be
same.
gay, it's like the best.
I know, it really is
Right?
the best.
It's like, wait, we get to be like a whole another kind of friend, like with all
That's
this
cool.
shared experience.
I know, and I feel like there's a lot of us that were in Reading.
Our class was so gay.
So gay.
Our class, like, I swear you go to Bethel School Supernatural Ministry to like suppress the gay, because you're like, well, I can't possibly succumb to this if I'm in ministry school.
How could I ever?
And now we're all gay.
I know.
Bethel School of Gay Ministry.
Wait, I have a question, like a legit.
New acronym.
What's the supernatural part? Like, what are you guys learning?
You don't
Is
wanna
it
know.
supernatural? Is
So-
it like spells?
Okay, at Bethel you
It's
go to
spells.
It's
Just, I
bordering.
wish.
Do you get like a wand?
And I like
Oh, I
there's
wish.
a whole nother conversation about like
Yeah.
the supernatural and like what parts of it like were just so much. I'm like not, and I'm like, well, I think like I see God's work sometimes and all that, but like we would go to parties and we'd have things called fire tunnels, and you have two people praying, like lifting the hands over, and then you'd walk through all these people that are like praying, like making this teepee, and they'd pray over you, and then everybody would start manifesting and doing like the shows.
anxiety-inducing to me.
The
The
shows.
shows.
You're like show, like
Oh.
manifesting, like you're doing a lot of manifesting, like speaking in
Like
tongues.
physically reacting.
Oh.
Like it's like speaking in tongues, but like on steroids. So your like body's like shaking. You're rolling around on the ground. You're screaming. You're like laughing. Lots of laughing. But they
So
do
much
it during
laughing.
preaching. And there was this guy in our class. Not you're the year after me, but we called him. I don't want to say. He'd beep all the time though. We had a nickname for him, was beeping something. I don't want to say his name. And he would do that like
Beep
during the sermons. He would be manifesting, being like beep boop beep. Beep, 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 boop, beep during the sermons, but it's normal Bethel manifesting, so no one like did anything. They're just like, this is Bethel, we are here, we are manifesting.
Yeah.
So that is a supernatural, and there's also like healing and stuff like that. But that's a whole nother conversation. It's the supernatural
Yeah.
school ministry,
I'm
but
not-
they also have a change movement there, which
I
is
have seen
one
that,
of the
yes.
most like prominent conversion therapy programs going on right now.
I
And it
was gonna
used to
sign
be
up.
called Once Gay,
Once
which I
Gay.
thought was hilarious.
And then they got kind of canceled and they rebranded.
Yeah.
And they're like,
I wish
we
it was
changed
called
because
that.
we wanted to, even though it is conversion. And if you look at the picture, everyone looks so depressed.
I had somebody tell me to read it, that pamphlet book that they hand out, and I read
Yeah.
it, and I was like, maybe
You were
I
like,
should go to this.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
Susie, don't
I know.
go.
I didn't. But I'm not very familiar with like the charismatic aspect of church. So
Well, if you can be healed of anything, you can be healed of gay, which kind of means that it speaks, them believing in healing speaks into the like healing the gay situation. Shut up. I know. How did the speakers handle that? I don't know. So believing in healing is problematic in this scenario because they believe gay can be healed. They believe gay is a sin. So instead of just being like, be celibate, which is like problematic, but less problematic, like if you're just going to be healed of it, you'll pray for healing forever, which was kind of my thing. I was praying for healing.
Wow.
So it comes with its own set of problems, and the change thing is part of that. And
Yeah.
that is a gigantic conversion therapy movement that is connected to my whole world, going on 2 hours away from where I live.
did you guys ever beep boop?
I've
She bopped.
I boxed. I
I
freaking wish. I was scaredy pants. I was like,
Yeah.
scared.
No, you feel weird if you don't.
True.
Not beep, but like you're supposed to like manifest. Like so, sometimes you do it because you feel like you should.
Right.
So yeah, I manifested a little bit.
Like, yeah, bebop.
No
The best of
beeping.
them.
I beeped. She bopped.
She bopped.
Yeah. Wait, was there anything else we want to talk about before we wrap this up? For that?
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can cut this out if you don't want to answer.
No.
But I'm curious because you guys both are gay and also both
Nice.
are Christians, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious with y'all on your journey of navigating that. What do y'all think / feel about like sleeping with people prior to marriage?
Nick, take it away.
Juicy question.
Yeah, I'm just
the
really
one I
curious
try to
about
avoid.
that. You don't have to answer. Also, we can pretend like
No, that's a great question.
It's a tricky one. I don't want to say like one way or the other necessarily because I know some gay couples that have waited till marriage.
Totally.
And the part of me kind of wants to do that because I
Yeah.
think there's some beauty in that.
Yeah.
I think going all the way is pretty vulnerable. And there's a lot of safety there. But I also think the like Bible gets really into like people get really hung up on that.
Yeah.
And I do think like marriage in the old times was like a lot different than it is now. They were doing it younger. Like people were like, and I'm like 33. So if I like wait forever, like I don't know, like there's just a lot of things to add to the picture.
Yeah.
But I think people will probably call me out on this if I say one thing or the other. I think
Totally.
like one side is going to get mad at me either way here.
Totally.
I think I see the value in waiting, but I also understand not.
Okay.
At the very least, what I would say is my encouragement to anybody is what I think was best for people that are looking for monogamous relationships. There's value in really like having a very strong connection with them before you open yourself up on that level.
Totally.
So having a really deep connection is really important. That's what I'd say.
Love that.
Without like digging into the like, if I say you should do it before, the Christians will hate me.
Yeah.
If I say you should wait till after, everyone else will. So I'm like, it's a fine line. I'm still sorting through it.
Yeah.
That's honestly my answer.
I love that.
Yeah, I think for me, it's, and I'm saying this for me, I'm not saying that this should be what everybody does, but
Yeah.
for me specifically, I would rather wait until I feel very safe
Yeah.
with someone.
Absolutely.
Because, first of all, sexuality for me has already been kind of a traumatic subject. So being with someone that I don't feel fully safe with, I think would
Yeah.
reopen that wound, and it wouldn't be
Absolutely.
healthy for me. And then the other aspect of it is I also just, I know myself, and I know that once I give of myself in that way, it'll be just very vulnerable, connected.
Yeah.
Should anything not go favorably that way, I think I would be
Absolutely.
wrecked. And I've already
Totally.
been wrecked and not crossed that line.
Same,
And
girl.
I'm like, if that happened, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just for me, like being in the church in high school, I was saving myself because I wanted to wait for marriage, like I thought the Bible said. And even now, I would say like I would probably wait. I'm also like not really dating right now.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
kind of off.
Yeah.
Like purposely not dating, or just like doing your thing?
That's so funny that you asked that. Part of
You
it
don't
was
have to
like
answer that.
I was like dating, and then my grandpa died, and
so
I was
sorry.
like kind of taken aback by that. And looking at my life, I was like, man, life is so short but so long.
Yep.
And I feel like I still have some stuff to figure out. And like selfishly, like I really love my life, and I don't know if I
Yeah.
want to add people to it,
100%.
or like feel like the drag of like I have to go on this date because I can't be a spinstress for the rest of my life.
That is so real.
Yeah. It's balance, I guess.
It is.
Knowing
I think I'm
yourself.
gonna be celibate for the summer.
Oh, celibate summer?
Celibate
Oh, that's,
summer.
Celibate
It rhymes.
I'm not doing that.
I mean, I don't think I am either, but I just wanted to
Henry
highlight
and I will be
you,
celibate.
but I'm
I
not
support
vibing
you,
it.
but I will not do that.
I will not be participating in celibate
I
summer.
won't participate, but I love that it rhymes.
I love that for you. I
love the rhyme.
Unless you decide not to, which probably, because, you know. Oh,
I think I already decided.
okay. Celibate summer?
Yeah.
You still have to hang out with me while I'm not being celibate.
sure.
Okay, cool. I mean, celibate, not celibate. What am I saying?
She won't hang out with
These words, don't pay attention to these words. I don't know what we're talking about. Okay, well, that was,
Yeah,
good
that was a
question.
question.
Thank you.
I think we'll probably wrap up.
Yeah.
This was such a good episode. I love you.
I love you
I'm so glad
too.
you're here.
It's so good to see you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm so excited about it, honestly. We'll catch up more off
Yes.
camera because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being here, Michelle.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Beep up.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, Susie. That was real. I'm not kidding. It was like that.
no
And
way
I
that
know
was
how to
real.
tone it out. It doesn't even bug me, which says a lot. And Henry, goodbye. Henry says goodbye.
Bye, Henry.
He barks when you don't want him to. When you do want him to, he does not. He's a lovely dog, though.
He's content.
Well, thanks for joining us on another episode of
The I Try to Be Straight Beep Boop podcast.